Buses frequently make appearances in movies. Sometimes they're barely seen in the background, or they're a dramatic means for storytelling. Some are so iconic their mere presence can help set the location of the movie. If a director wants to establish being in a sizable metropolitan area, just make sure a transit bus is in the background. A large motor coach helps convey traveling great distances or being in a rural area between cities. The utilization in movies varies greatly. Some are more prominent than others. Here are 10 notable movies with buses in them. Number 1. Mars Attacks from 1996. Here we have a 1964 GMC TDH 5304 driven by none other than Pam Grier. More famously remembered for her lead role in the 1974 movie Foxy Brown, Pam ends up displaying a similar tough character in Mars Attacks.
Excuse me, folks, but we gotta make an unscheduled stop!
This time she's a working mom who drives a city bus in DC, who has no qualms about stopping her bus mid-route to parent her 2 boys. It isn't often we see a bus driver as a main character in a movie. Number 2 is the 1973 James Bond movie Live and Let Die. James Bond movies are well known for their car crashes, but in this movie, James Bond vehicle of opportunity is a 1947 AEC Regent 3 double-decker bus. There's one country that comes to mind when you see a double-decker bus, and that is England. Without giving the history of the fictitious location used in the movie, an island by the name of San Monique, the presence of a double-decker bus quickly established it as being a former British colony. Live and Let Die captures on film perhaps the greatest turn accomplished by a bus. And any James Bond chase using a double-decker bus couldn't end without shaving a little bit off the top. Number 3. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban from 2004. Following the James Bond lead, this movie also uses an AEC Regent 3 with some modifications. This magical bus has been stretched vertically, making the double-decker a triple-decker. Complete with beds and a chandelier, the night bus quickly transports Harry Potter across town as only a magical bus can. Staying in England, we come to number 4, the Beatles' 1967 movie Magical Mystery Tour. This movie feels like a bus driver's fever dream. And that driver's behind the wheel of a 1967 Bedford VAL Plaxton Panorama. It's actually survived all these years and is currently owned by the Hard Rock Cafe in the US. It doesn't seem to be on public display, but it has made appearances in the past. I mean, this is one odd-looking bus with a single set of wheels in the rear and 2 sets up front. In retrospect, this bus is a perfect representation of how weird this movie is. Number 5. 1986 brought us Big Trouble in Little China. One of the coolest getaway vehicles you ever see on film, it's a 1936 white Model 706. Built by the White Motor Company for the Yellowstone Park Transportation Company, you can still ride these buses today as part of a tour. This bus used in the movie was Unit 408, so perhaps you can even ride this very bus. How this bus got selected to be in the movie has got to be an interesting story. Thankfully it was, and became part of a cult classic. Number 6. A League of Their Own from 1992. It goes without saying, but this movie gave us one of the best movie quotes.
There's no crying in baseball!
Buses are frequently used in sports movies, especially those about baseball, and this movie is no exception. It starts with a 1982 Greyhound MCI MC9 bus depicting the main character traveling to a baseball reunion. Like a double-decker bus helps set the location in a city in England, a Greyhound motor coach places the location in a more rural American setting, and implies being a great distance from the previous scene. Buses in movies give a location that brings a large group of characters together. A sports team that is spread across a field will be left yelling across to each other trying to have a conversation. An isolated location that allows characters to interact throughout a whole group is easily handled within a bus ride between games. A League of Their Own uses a 1947 GMC PD 3751 for such shots. A few years too new for a movie taking place during World War II, this bus still fits the part. A rival team shows up later in the movie with their 1940s General American Aero Coach P-37. Little information exists about this bus, so it might be time period correct. Number 7 is the amazing Shawshank Redemption from 1994. In addition to being a great movie, it has a few buses. Tim Meadows' character arrives at the Shawshank prison in a 1937 Ford V8 2-ton coach. Its gray exterior and interior help set the mood for what's to follow. Morgan Freeman's character later gets a taste of freedom in the back of a 1960s or 70s GM New Look transit bus. It's a quick scene, but using a transit bus helps establish the location as being in a city removed from the rural prison. Ultimately, Morgan Freeman's character heads out on the road in the back of a 1960 GM PD 4104. The Trailways Bus Company is still in operation today and helps establish that this isn't a short bus ride. This motor coach has taken the character a long, long way. Number 8 is the 1969 movie Viva Max. Now I'll admit this is a bit of an odd choice. This movie was written by journalist Jim Lehrer, which is discussed in his 1992 autobiography, A Bus of My Own. What you may not know about Jim Lehrer is that he was a huge bus fan. His father owned a bus company and Jim Lehrer never lost interest. He eventually owned his own flexible bus and he had it painted up in the livery of his dad's company. With that being said, it should not be any surprise that his movie has buses in it. The story is about a Mexican general who wants to reclaim the Alamo for Mexico. An attempt to commandeer a 1966 GM TDH 4519 transit bus to transport his troops is unsuccessful. The U.S. Army then uses a 1964 Silver Eagle Model 1 motor coach to transport their own troops. It's a silly movie, but I applaud Jim successfully inserting his passion for buses into the story. A small note, this movie stars an actress by the name of Alice Ghostley. 2 years before this movie, she was in another famous movie with the bus. Number 9, The Graduate from 1967. The first bus you see isn't the famous scene from the movie, it's an earlier scene when Dustin Hoffman's character chases down Catherine Ross as she boards a city bus. That bus, a 1961 GMC TDH 5301, is where she learns it's hard to escape when you're trapped on a moving bus. If you have an eagle eye, you'll notice that the bus is sitting almost off camera when the shot begins, then moves into frame after the camera pans. While Catherine Ross's character discovered it's hard to escape from an unwanted passenger when you are on board a bus, she later discovers the joy of escaping your family by using a city bus. This bus is a 1956 GMC TDH 4512. Okay, I'm completely biased when it comes to picking movies for this list. I'll link another video of mine where I talk about owning this bus. With that being said, this is a great scene. The Common City Transit bus provides the quickest escape for the couple. No fancy cars, no prearranged transportation, just sheer luck that the church was located on a bus route and a bus happened to be approaching exactly when they needed it. Number 10. Speed from 1994. Okay, so this isn't a list of the 10 greatest bus movies because there's only one, and it's this movie. Upon viewing this movie, you may be surprised to learn that the first act involves an elevator, the last act involves a subway train, and it's only the second act in the middle that has this bus, and it's amazing. This bus is a 1966 GMC TDH 5303. This movie has it all. A great cast of characters that includes the bus driver. They actually jump the bus without using CGI. The bus ends up blowing up, which is pretty spectacular. And it has the greatest shot of a bus in any film. This movie is now a historic documentary in a way, showing a bus like this being in use. So there you have it, 10 movies with notable scenes with buses. If you have any other movies you think that would qualify, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.